Om. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Chapter 4 of the Bhagavad Gita, verses 27 to 31. 28 to 32.
द्रव्ययज्ञस्तपो यज्ञाः योगयज्ञस्तथा परे स्वाध्यायज्ञानयज्ञाश्च यतयः संशितव्रताः अपाने जुह्वति प्राणम् प्राणे पानं तथा परे प्राणापानगतिरुद्ध्वा प्राणायामपरायणाः अपरे नियताहाराः प्राणान् प्राणेषु जुह्वति सर्वेऽप्येते यज्ञविदः यज्ञक्षपितकल्मषाः यज्ञशिष्टामृतभुजः यान्ति ब्रह्म सनातनम् नायं लोकोऽस्य यज्ञस्य कुतोऽन्यः कुरु सत्तमा एवं बहुविधा यज्ञाः वितता ब्रह्मणो मुखे कर्मजान्विद्धितान् सर्वान् एवं ज्ञात्वा विमोक्ष्यसे.
A person is sitting in a park and admiring the beauty of the park, looking at the sunrise or the sunset. There is a perception that is entering him. He is perceiving things in front of him. So the moment that perception hits him, he can convert that into a yajna. Just the perception. What makes me see is that Brahman, is a divinity. I may see beautiful things, I may see ugly things. It doesn't matter what I see, but what makes me see is that Brahman, is that Supreme Being. You become aware of the Supreme Being in and through all your perceptions. You see flowers in your garden. You see a street in front of you. Anything you can see. It doesn't have to be anything special. Any mundane, ordinary perception, you convert it into yajna. You offer the stimuli that is coming in from the world, you offer that, and the perception is kindled. See, suppose a person is involved in his actions. A person who is busy, who's rushing, hurrying, worrying all the time. Such a person doesn't register what is happening around. Sometimes you may be standing there. The fellow is rushing, hurrying. He doesn't even notice that you're standing there. He's so involved in his own thoughts. He's so involved in his own mind. So to be able to register the perception, you should be able to observe. If you don't observe, you don't register. That's why you need an intellect to observe. It's the mind that gets you involved in situations. Intellect is that which helps you to take a step back and observe. It is through observation that you arrive at a solution. People who are rushing and hurrying and worrying, they'll never find solution because you're too caught up in it. You take a step back and you observe. So observation is when you register the perception. Even enjoyment for that matter. When you're enjoying a piece of cake, you're enjoying a mango. If you are not in the moment, if you're not observing, you won't enjoy it. You're talking to somebody and you're having the chocolate, okay? You're talking to somebody. By the time you finish the conversation, chocolate is over. He asks, how was the chocolate? Oh, yeah, it's okay, it's okay. You don't remember because your whole focus was on talking to him. You didn't even register the taste of the chocolate. So to register a perception, register a taste, you have to observe. Observation is to be in the moment, to be in the present. You're not in the present. Yes, your mind is all the time running here and there. So that is one of the yajnas, is the perception that you're getting from the world. The stimuli is offered, the perception is kindled. So in the example in the verse, what did he say? He said the sound, hearing, so sound is offered and hearing is kindled. But you could keep on seeing that, you would keep on hearing it. Now, the next yajna is that you end that perception. If you keep on going with that perception, then the next yajna will not happen. For next yajna to happen, you have to end perception with perception. When you end the perception with perception, is the next yajna. What is the next yajna? The yajna of restraint. You're restraining yourself, not mentally lingering upon that enjoyment. So how do you create desires? Is by lingering upon that enjoyment. See, once you go through an enjoyment, if you finish that enjoyment and don't think about that enjoyment, you will not develop desire. See, it's interesting. People believe by going through the enjoyment, you will create desire. No. Physically going through the enjoyment, you won't create desire. It is the mental attachment that creates a desire. That is the explanation for Krishna. Lord Krishna, 16,008 wives, he's a Nitya Brahmachari, eternal celibate. How is it? Because mentally there's no lingering, there's no attachment. So, in that yajna, what is that yajna? You are offering your perceptions. Whatever perception you have, you're offering, and you're kindling self control. By ending perception with perception, you're practicing self control. Now, this self-control you can apply to the world. Athletes apply self-control. A business person can apply self-control. A student can apply self-control. So, in a limited way, you apply self-control in the world. But suppose you're interested in spiritual development and you're applying self-control for spiritual development, then it's the next yajna. So next yajna is where you offer all your perceptions. And what you're kindling is the self. See, what it means is the tendency of people is to be extroverted. You're going into the world, indulging in the world. That is extrovertedness. If you give up that extrovertedness, you will become introverted. You will go towards the self rather than towards the world. So that is spiritual self-control. Spiritual self-control is you give up that extrovertedness and you kindle the introvertedness. Now, give up extrovertedness doesn't mean you lock yourself in the room. That is not giving up extrovertedness. Giving up extrovertedness means changing your thinking. Instead of thinking all the time about the world, you start paying more attention to your mind, your intellect. You pay more attention to your development. Sometimes, I remember one person was asking me, uh, "Oh, there's a stagnation in my life. Uh, I don't know. Everything seems very stagnant. Nothing seems to be happening. I feel very stagnant. I think I've come to a crossroads." All sorts of things he was saying. So the problem is if you don't focus on your self development, there will be a stagnation. It happens to everybody. It's a matter of time. It could happen in your late 30s, it could be 40s, it could be 50s. Some stage in the life, you hit the end of the road. You feel you have hit the end of the road. If you don't develop yourself, but if you keep developing yourself, then that will not happen. So I told him, I explained to him. He said, okay, he's working on it. In the sense, he's attending our classes, he's slowly getting out of that. So that is what is this yoga of self-control. Yoga of self-control is instead of being extroverted, let me look at my development, improve myself. Improving yourself is infinite. You understand? You can keep on improving yourself until you hit self-realization. So it's an infinite effort. So you're all clear with this yajna. So there's a perception, there is a restraint, there is a self-control. Before that, yajnas 1 and 2 was limited ideal and absolute ideal. So any action that you're doing in the world, you could do it to achieve something in the world, which is limited ideal, or to achieve self-realization, which is absolute ideal. So in the case of a limited ideal, you're offering your body, mind, intellect. You're offering all the equipments that you have, and you're kindling happiness to achieve something in the world. You're offering your body, mind, intellect, and you're kindling happiness. But in the case of the absolute ideal, what you're offering, what are you kindling? So he changes it slightly, Very, very interesting. Anybody remembers in the absolute ideal, what is the offering, what is the kindling?
Kindling was Brahman.
Sorry? Kindling Brahman.
Brahman.
What you offering?
Sacrifice.
Sacrifice. Very good. You're offering sacrifice. You're offering sacrifice itself into the fire. You understand? You're giving up sacrifice itself. That capacity to sacrifice you're giving. Because, see, as long as you are giving, you're sacrificing, there is still a sense of individuality that I am sacrificing. So if you give up that sense of sacrifice, that feeling of sacrifice, then that individuality disappears. So that's what verse 25 he said, some yogis perform sacrifice to gods, which is limited ideals. Then next line he says, others perform sacrifice by offering sacrifice itself in the fire of Brahman. They give up the sacrifice, they're giving up the individuality. Giving up sacrifice means giving up the individuality. And when you give up your individuality, what remains? Only the self remains. Only Brahman remains. So let's see from that verse onwards. Yajna 1, Yajna 2. You see that Yajna 1, limited ideals, offering body, mind, intellect, kindling happens. And Yajna 2, absolute ideal, offering sacrifice. Or you could say capacity to sacrifice. That itself you're offering. And you're kindling Brahman. When you say absolute, there's only one, which is Brahman, nothing else. Then the next verse is what we covered in terms of perception. So, third yajna, you see that yajna of perception. You're offering stimuli, kindling perception. And fourth yajna is you're offering all the perceptions, kindling self-control. You're practicing self-control, converting that into yajna. See, converting into yajna means you are turning that action into something spiritual. That's all it means. Converting into yajna means you're making it spiritual. A normal action, a worldly action, you are divinizing that action. Then the fifth yajna, the next one, there you see, yajna of yoga of self-control. So you're offering all functions, all the actions, all the perceptions, all emotions, thoughts, all functions you're offering, and you're kindling self-realization. You're going towards self-realization. So that's the difference between verse 27 and verse 26. Because in 26 also he says restraint. And 27 he says self-control. Restraint and self-control mean the same. So what's the difference between restraint and self-control in 26, 27? In 26, you're using the gross intellect to restrain from the world. In 27, you're using the subtle intellect to go towards Brahman. Because it's spiritual. 26 may not be spiritual. It's just the worldly things he's achieving. Is everyone clear so far? If you're not clear, feel free to ask. Soumya.
Namaskaram, Bhaskarji.
Yes, Soumya, you tell me.
In the context of these yajnas, what does offering actually mean? Like, what does it mean to offer, and like, what is the process of turning an offering into kindling? Is it kind of just having single-pointed kind of concentration, or is it something else?
Offering in the sense that you let it go. You leave it. You are not attached to it. offering in that sense. You're not attached to it. See, for example, in this one, yajna of yoga of self-control, you're offering all functions. Offering all functions means you're dedicating your actions to achieving self-realization. That dedication means you're not attached to it. You're dedicating it to achieve something higher. I'm giving it up to achieve something higher.
And then in the context
Yeah, so, sorry, opposite of that is, suppose a person says, oh, I love to see some things, I love to taste, I love to hear, and he just keeps providing himself with whatever he loves to hear, loves to see, loves to taste. He's not giving up that perceptions. You understand? He's attached to certain things, he's just holding on to that thing and he's living his life. But here is a person who is offering for the sake of something, for a higher ideal, for a higher goal. Otherwise, you could live your life in a very small circle of attachment. I like one or two people, I have two friends, I love this, I love that, I love doing this. That's it. So you're attached, you're not offering anything, you're not dedicating anything to achieve anything higher. That's what offering means, you know.
So in the context of the third yajna,
Mm.
where the stimuli is what's being offered, like it doesn't feel to me, from my understanding right now, that you're kind of giving anything up in terms of that, because obviously the mind needs to be focused on the stimuli in order to actually perceive, otherwise you're just going to ignore. But I don't understand what's being kind of given up in that situation.
Oh, you're giving up the distractions of the mind, the attractions of the mind towards other things. The mind can get attracted with something else. You bring back the mind to the present action. Because only when the mind is in the present will you be able to register the stimuli, register the perception. So offering the stimuli here means that when the stimuli comes, you're not distracted, you're not elsewhere. You're there to receive the stimuli and register the perception. So offering here means avoiding distraction.
And then the kindling is kind of because you've given up that whatever is being offered, then the kindling is the result of that giving.
Is a result of that. Correct. Is a result, is the effect. That is kindling. Correct.
Hari Om, Bhaskarji.
Yes, Vijaya, are you?
I'm looking at
Ah.
how I'm going to place the limited ideal, like they say, work is worship. Let's say I'm preparing a meal for the kids. How would I turn that into a yajna?
So the same principle. See, you're when you're doing that action, you're giving your entire personality to it. See, you're not doing it in a casual way. You're giving yourself wholly to it. So when you give yourself wholly to your obligations, then you're giving up your body, mind, intellect. That's what it means. You give up wholly. Oh my God, I've got to do this. Let me do this and get out of it. If you do it with that attitude, you're not giving yourself wholly to it. But if you say, no, okay, I have to cook a meal, let me focus on, let me get this done properly. So you prepare, you do everything and give yourself fully to it, then you are offering your body, mind, intellect. Result will be happiness. You'll feel happy that you have done it properly.
Oh, okay.
But if you're not wholeheartedly doing that, say something is there, I need to do it, let me do it and get out of it, you won't get happiness as a result of it. In fact,
Okay.
you get more bored by not giving yourself wholeheartedly. You'll just be bored.
Okay. Thank you, Bhaskarji.
That's so now you go back to that limited ideal and you see what is the offering and kindling. So you were asking, no, limited. See, limited ideal offering is body, mind, intellect. Kindling is happiness.
Okay.
You give yourself fully. Result is you'll be happy. Happy not because you achieved any result. Happy that you have executed the action properly. You've done what you're supposed to do. You've done that. That gives you the happiness. Others may praise your cooking or they may not praise your cooking. You're not concerned about that. I've done my job correctly. The best way possible, I've done it. That's it. That gives you satisfaction. No,
Thank you.
sometimes you do something and you've not done it very well. You know it, but everybody praises. Fantastic, superb, superb. Internally, you know that salt is less. I would have added more salt, but nobody notices. You are quiet. You don't tell that. But everybody praises. Other day, you make it so well. You know you've done everything. Others are saying, "How is it?" It's okay. Arre, according to you, you've done it perfectly, but they say it's okay. So there's always so many a times there's a disconnect between what you think is perfect and what others praise. You understand? Others, how they look at it is very different. So you shouldn't look at what others are looking at. You look at from your standpoint whether you've done it perfectly or not.
So if you say if it's personal satisfaction that you did it, then is that not related to like result you have
No, no,
embraced
not a result. It happens automatically. I'm explaining what kindling means.
Okay.
Your kindling happiness. I'm explaining what it is. It is the automatic effect of giving yourself wholeheartedly. When you give yourself wholeheartedly, you're not thinking about happiness. You're only thinking about performing that action. Automatically, the byproduct is you'll get happiness. But you're not thinking about happiness.
Okay. Thank you, Bhaskarji.
Okay. You got it, huh, Vijay? Okay, good. Okay, so everyone seems to have got it so far. Now we move on to the next verse, 28.
द्रव्ययज्ञास्तपो यज्ञाः योगयज्ञास्तथा परे स्वाध्यायज्ञानयज्ञाश्च यतयः संशितव्रताः द्रव्ययज्ञास्तपो यज्ञाः योगयज्ञास्तथा परे स्वाध्यायज्ञानयज्ञाश्च यतयः संशितव्रताः.
Here's another famous oft-quoted verse in the Bhagavad Gita. Yet others again offer wealth as sacrifice, austerity as sacrifice, yoga as sacrifice, and ascetics of rigid vows offer study and wisdom as sacrifice. So various types of offering is given. Now, if you remember the original principle upon which all these yajnas are based, receipt, reaction, response. So from verse 25 to 27, it is receipt and reaction. The perception, the restraint, the self-control, all that is receiving and reacting. How you're managing receipt and reaction. Now, from this verse onwards, 28 onwards, responses start. You're responding back to the world. when you're responding back to the world, broadly speaking, there are two types of responses you can have. One response is to take, other response is to give. You can take from the world or you can give back to the world, broadly speaking. And if you examine the world carefully, what you realize is the world is existing because of giving. If there was no giving in the world, this world will not exist. Sun gives heat and light. It burns itself away to give heat and light. Trees and plants, they give food. Not only that, they absorb carbon dioxide. They take what we breathe out. They absorb that. Clouds give rain. Even animals, they provide us things. So nature operates in a spirit of giving. And they don't ask anything in return. The sun doesn't send us a bill. The trees and plants don't send us a bill. Clouds doesn't send a bill. So nature doesn't ask anything in return. It just gives and gives and gives. That's why it is the humans who are destroying this planet. Humans are destroying the world. Why? Because we are taking and taking and taking. Humans are not giving. We are only taking. So if you are taking from the world, it's a non-yajna activity. It's not a yajna activity. It's a self-centered activity. It's not a spiritual activity. So when you are taking, you are only increasing your desires, number one. Number two, you are asserting your ego. As a result, you can't cooperate with others. So you put two selfish people together, any relationship, it won't survive. That relationship won't survive. Two egoistic people together, two self-centered people together, they can't be together. Impossible. So there is no teamwork, there is no cooperation when there is taking. One person has to be a giver. In any relationship, among two people, one person has to be giver. Then that relationship survives. Why should I only be the giver? Huh? Okay, you don't want the relationship to survive? It's your choice. So one person has to take that leap. So when you give, then it becomes a yajna activity. So giving is a responses back to the world. You're giving back to the world. In this verse, he's saying, what are the different ways that you can give back to the world? 4 different ways you can give back to the world. That's why we call this verse as 4 types of giving. And there's a hierarchy in these 4 types. He starts with the grossest, the lowest, and moves to the subtlest, the highest. There are grades of giving. So the lowest grade of giving, he calls it as Dravya Yajna. Dravya Yajna means, Dravya literally means grains. In those days, in the olden days in India, It was an agricultural country primarily. As a result, grains were a sign of wealth. So Dravya Yajna means a sacrifice of wealth. That is the grossest, that is the lowest. Next is Tapo Yajna. Tapaha means austerity, to be frugal, to conserve. So Tapo Yajna refers to physical sacrifice, physical service. You're giving your time and effort to help others. So first type of sacrifice is you sign a check, you give a donation to someone, giving wealth. Second is you give your time and effort. You physically go and help others. Physical sacrifice is superior to material sacrifice. See, even in our classes, let's say, for example, I don't even know how many people attend all the classes, but let's say, for example, 200 people attending all the classes, and 200 people donate. Materially, they give service, 200 people. Out of the 200 people, 20 people do volunteering. You understand? So physical service, a small proportion people will give. Material service is easier. So physical service is greater than material service, is more difficult than material service. Sometimes, when business people, they come in touch with this knowledge. And I remember a person, he was talking to me and I was telling him, listen, come for these classes, it'll be very useful, this thing. You know what, I'm not too sure. I don't know about my timing. It's very difficult. I said, just come, it'll be fine. Uh, Finally, what he did was he signed a check and he gave. He said, you're doing good work, keep the check, but it's difficult for me to come for classes. You understand? So he's not ready to commit, but he's ready to give a small amount as a donation. So, in other words, he said, don't come again. That's what his point was. You understand? Here it is, don't come again. So, material giving is there. Superior to material giving is physical giving. Third is yoga yajna. Yoga yajna is the sacrifice of mind and intellect, the sacrifice of emotions and thoughts. See, what is yoga? You know that by now. Yoga is to unite, is to join with the self. So giving up yoga as sacrifice means you are promoting the union to the self. You're guiding others to the self. How are you doing that? Through your emotions, through your thoughts. So it's subtler than physical giving, superior to physical giving. See, for example, somebody is distraught, somebody is in sorrow, and you see that person is completely distraught. So you sit with that person, you talk to that person. The other day, when I was walking on the high street, there's one person who was fallen on the floor, on the ground, and then two people were picking him up, and they were struggling to pick him up. So they called me. I said I also came. We picked him up and put him in a chair, and I didn't know what else to do. So I carried on, and these two people were waiting there and looking after that person. So that is an emotional service. You make the other person feel wanted. You spend time with that person. You even see sometimes these homeless people. Some of them go towards the homeless people, sit with them, talk to them. So that is emotional service. And superior to emotional service is intellectual service. Intellectual service is giving guidance to people, providing clarity to help them with their thinking. See, one of the best service you can do is listen to others. Intellectual service, you don't have to give one big lecture. You just listen to others, because what happens is when you listen, the other person is able to think. The fellow keeps on speaking. He says, and you're just thinking, you're just absorbing what that fellow is saying. You're not doing anything. You're just listening. As a result, that fellow is able to think, and he comes up with an idea. You're not telling him anything, but he himself comes up with an idea. So you can do intellectual service in different ways. That's what I'm saying. It's not just speaking to others, but even receiving what they have to say. Emotional service, intellectual service, they club it together as the third type of giving, yoga yajna. So first is material service, dravya yajna. Second is tapo yajna, physical service. Third is yoga yajna, emotional, intellectual service. So far, it's easy to understand. A child will understand this. Material service, physical service, emotional, intellectual service. Now, this fourth type of service is what gets people into knots. So, fourth service, he says, sacrifice of study and wisdom. They offer study and wisdom as sacrifice. Which is what none of you all do. You understand? So, study and wisdom. So, what is study and wisdom? Study and wisdom is waking up in the morning, studying the Vedanta, studying the Bhagavad Gita, studying the scriptures. So, when you study this knowledge and you gain wisdom as a result of it, study and wisdom. You study, and result of it is you gain wisdom. Fourth type of sacrifice he's saying is you're giving up study and wisdom. You offer study and wisdom. That doesn't mean you stop studying. That's not what he's saying. So offer study and wisdom means you continue to study, you continue to gain wisdom. You continue to do that. Anyone can ask, what is the service there? What is it that you're giving there? You're only studying and you're gaining wisdom. Isn't that a selfish exercise? The other day also somebody in the Q&A session was asking, oh, isn't it self-development, isn't it selfish? You're only developing yourself. I didn't have time to clarify at that time. See, when you say selfish, what do you mean by selfish? Can anyone define what is meant by selfishness? What does it mean to be selfish?
Thinking about the self.
Thinking about the self is selfish. What do you say?
It's for
It's
your
only
own
me,
gain.
only thinking about
Ah,
myself, like me and mine.
the limited self. Your
Yeah.
okay, correct. So only thinking about yourself. So you see, if you expand it a little bit, you can understand it better. So thinking about yourself means you are catering to your body, mind, intellect. So whatever your body wants, whatever your mind wants, whatever your intellect wants, the different desires that you have, physical desires, emotional, intellectual desires, you're just providing for those desires. You're catering to those desires. That is selfish. Selfish means to take care of your desires. Similarly, to boost your ego, I'm the best. And others keeps telling, oh, you're the best. Yes. I'm the best. It's selfish. You're just selfish. You're boosting your selfishness, you're boosting your ego. So that is selfishness. So selfishness means catering to your body, mind, and intellect. feeding your body, mind, intellect. You're just satisfying the desires of the body, mind, intellect. This is selfishness. When you're learning Vedanta and you're practicing spirituality, what are you trying to do? You're trying to reduce your desires. You're trying to control your desires. You're trying to reduce your ego. You're trying to become more humble, which is exactly the opposite of selfishness. Selfishness is increasing your desires and ego, whereas here in spirituality, you're decreasing your desires and ego. You're making an effort to decrease. So, spiritual study is not selfish. Spiritual study is reducing the selfishness, reducing the ego. It's exactly the opposite of it. So you are learning, you are developing yourself, you're gaining wisdom, you're reflecting upon this knowledge. As a result, your selfishness decreases. When your selfishness decreases, whatever you do becomes a form of giving. That is true giving. See, true giving is not only giving to a charity. That is not true giving. True giving means anything and everything you do in life becomes a form of giving. You're dedicating your life to the service of others. And you can do that only when you reduce your selfishness. And how do you reduce your selfishness? Through study and wisdom. So spiritual study decreases selfishness. As a result of the decrease in selfishness, you will be able to live a life of giving. So if you are an architect, you give to the society through architecture. If you are a doctor, you give back to the society through your medical skills. If you are a solicitor, you give back to the society. So you serve in whatever vocation you are, whatever actions you do, through that actions you serve, for which you have to reduce your selfishness. If your selfishness is high, how can you serve? So the fourth one is Swadhyaya Jnana Yajna. If you can remember that, it'll be very useful for you. Swadhyaya Jnana Yajna. Swadhyaya means self-study. There's a spiritual group in the Gujarati community. They also call themselves Swadhyaya. That's the meaning of the word Swadhyaya. Swadhyaya means self-study. Swadhyaya Jnana Yajna. Jnana means knowledge. So the yajna of self-study and wisdom. So see that on the screen. The four types of giving. Dravya yajna, sacrifice of wealth. Tapo yajna, sacrifice of austerity. Yoga yajna, sacrifice of yoga. And Swadhyaya Jnana Yajna, sacrifice of study and wisdom. The principle is you are giving that which is dearest to you. Whatever you value the most, if you give, it is superior giving. You have two watches. One watch has stopped working. You're looking to get rid of it. You understand? Your nephew birthday is coming up. And suddenly you get an idea. You go to the watch repair shop, Timson's. You go and say, hey, this watch has stopped working, can you do something? He says, okay, sir, I'll do it. I'll make it work. You make it work, you polish it nicely, and then you package it, and you go and give it to your nephew. Happy birthday. And he takes it. It's a nice watch. You're looking to get rid of it. But if you give that first watch away, the watch which is working well, if you remove that and give it away, that is greater giving. You understand? That which is dear to you, you give it away. See, who did that? Karna did that. What did Karna do? Karna gave away his Kavacha and Kundala. You understand? That was given to him to protect him from any danger. As long as he had it's a breastplate, an armor. If he had that with him, nobody can kill him. He was invincible. He gave that away, knowing very well he can be killed. So, what is dearest to you, you give away. That is the highest form of giving. So, what they're saying is, the lowest. See, if you can't give anything, he says, give wealth. Even that people don't give. That is different. But he says the lowest form of giving is wealth. Because think of it from your own experience. If you had a choice between wealth and health, which will you take? Your body needs to be protected. You have to spend for that. You'll gladly spend. So it's superior. The body is superior to wealth. So that's why he's saying tapo yajna is superior to dravya yajna. The sacrifice of body is superior. Similarly, the sacrifice of your mind and intellect. So if you lose your mind, if you get dementia, what is the point of having perfect health and plenty of wealth? You're a billionaire and you're a very fit billionaire and you got dementia. You got Alzheimer's. What's the point? What's the point of all that wealth? So that's what he means. So it's superior. Mind is superior. The intellect is superior. So if you're ready to give at that level, that which is dear to you is a superior. The last one is your own individuality. You're giving up your ego. You're giving up your selfishness, which is your individuality. Is the dearest to you, the closest to you, you're giving up. Your own individuality. So the great author Khalil Gibran, he starts his narration of giving. He writes a passage on what is giving. And when he starts that passage, the first thing he says is, you give but little when you give off your possessions. When you give your possessions, he's talking about material giving. You give but little when you give off your possessions. It is when you give off yourself that you truly give. You give but little when you give off your possessions. Yes, giving possessions is a start. You're sharing something which is dear to you, but it is little. But if you really want to give, he says, you give yourself. Give of yourself. What is giving yourself? That is a fourth yajna. Giving up your ego, giving up that individuality. That sense of I-ness, mindness, you're giving it up. When you give of yourself, you truly give. See that famous lines. It's in that book called The Prophet. You give but little when you give of your possessions. It is when you give of yourself that you truly give. which is what these great saints did. All these great prophets, they did that. What did Christ do? What did Krishna do? What did Prophet Muhammad do? They gave themselves away. The greatest service you do to the world. Yet others again offer wealth as sacrifice, austerity as sacrifice, yoga as sacrifice, and ascetics of rigid vows offer study and wisdom as sacrifice. See, he's saying to give, offer study and wisdom is not easy. You need to be an ascetic, ascetics of rigid vows. There's a lot of effort that goes into it. So next class I will explain why this fourth type of service is superior to the other three. The fourth one, Swadhyaya Jnana Yajna, is superior to material giving, physical giving, and emotional intellectual giving. Why is it superior? I'll explain it when I catch you all fresh in the next class. Soumya?
Why is the eighth one called sacrifice of yoga? If it's to do with the kind of emotions and intellect.
See, the significance there is yoga means the union. You're promoting union with the self. So, in fact, I didn't cover that what you're offering and kindling in each of these yajnas, these four yajnas. But in the yoga, in the third type of giving, you are offering your emotional intellectual service and you're kindling others' spiritual evolution. See, if when a person is depressed, when a person is sorrow, they are not in touch with their self. There's no spiritual evolution. You understand? So by helping them uh, ride those emotions, overcome those emotions of depression, you are promoting the spiritual evolution. So that's why it's called yoga. Yoga means you're helping them to join with the self. So even that I will explain to you all next week. What is the offering and kindling in each of these four yajnas?
Hari Om Bhaskarji.
Yes, Vijay.
Yeah. Yeah. What if a person is like a simpleton? He doesn't have the knowledge or the wisdom, but he's prepared to give his time to serve for others. In that case, where would he stand in these four yajnas?
See, it's interesting you say that. Say a simpleton, you're calling the person, but he's ready to give time, but also whether he is humble about it or not. See, suppose he doesn't have that ego, whatever help needs to be provided, I'm happy to provide. You understand? No, I don't like to do this. I don't like to do that. He doesn't have that kind of a thing. He's very open. He's very humble to give. You understand? So therefore, definitely it will fit under the tapo yajna, where there's a physical sacrifice. He's giving his time and effort, but he's also giving up his ego. You understand? He is also humbling himself in helping others. So the fourth one will also be there.
Okay.
You understand? So that's how you got to study it. You're giving time, but you're also giving up your ego. There are people who will give up time, but they will say, no, I'll only be able to do this. That's it. Don't tell me anything else. I can only do this. That's it. So they're giving time, but they're very egoistic. They hold on to that, their ideas.
Okay. Thank you.
Nilesh,
Hari Om, Bhaskarji.
Hari Om.
So, Bhaskarji, regarding where you have mentioned that nature is always giving, yeah, but doesn't it go like a balanced way? Like everywhere, it's like give and take, yeah. We can't clap with one hand. So, let's say for an example of plants. So even a farmer, when doing a farming or for plants, they give their time, efforts. We pour water and everything. So isn't it like the give and take there? Is it, or is it just only giving?
No, of course, they need something to grow, to survive. But in proportion, if you examine what they take and what they give, what they're taking is so minimal, so minuscule compared to what they're giving. You know, when a cow gives, what does it take? It takes grass, hay, fodder, which is nothing, which is worthless. But it gives things which is so much of value. So, that's why you're asked to worship the cow or the bull. You know, maximum work, minimum profit. Maximum work, minimum profit. So you take the least, give the most.
Okay.
You give back most, you take the. So you do need to take something for that sense to survive. But what is the proportion? So as you spiritually develop, you keep increasing that proportion of giving back more and more.
Yeah, got it, got it. Thank you, Bhaskarji.
Also, and again, next week I'll explain that further. It's an attitude. Main thing is an attitude. It's not the action. The attitude is more important than the action. I'll explain that next week.
Thank you, Bhaskarji.
Okay. Okay, everyone. On that note,